Hey guys, welcome to your Party on the Fourth wine tasting kit. You know, it's that time of year where we're saying happy birthday to America. So we've got a great selection of our wines here. We're going to start out with some of our driest whites, go to our sweeter whites, and then start again with our dry reds, go to our sweet reds. These are some great wines. And you got a couple things with this too. One of the things that I really want to mention though are these Savannah Grace cheese straws. If you've never had these, they got a little bit of a kick to them. They're good, get that cheddar taste, but just a little kick at the end. But they're really good to taste in between your wine tasting. It kind of cleanse your palate a little bit there for your next wine. But let's go right into this, okay? Because we're gonna start, we got, what, 10 wines here? So you got a ton of wines to drink here. So let's start with our Moonlight Bliss. Now, Moonlight Bliss, it's one of our newest wines, okay? It's kind of to help out with people who don't really like sweet wines, but they like kind of a semi-sweet. That's what this is. This is about a 4% sugar content. Our driest wine, it is only a 0.3%, and our sweetest is a 13%. So this is on that dry end. It's made with a Magnolia Muscadine grape. Oh man, it smells. You can smell those Magnolia Muscadines right in there, and the taste, well, go ahead, give it a taste. Leave that in your mouth for a minute. You get that smooth muscadine taste at the beginning, but then you get a little bit of that skin taste for the finish of that. Now what I mean by that, if you've never had a muscadine grapes, they're really thick skin. You pop them in your mouth, bite into them, all that juice comes out, starts out very sweet, but then if you chew that skin up, skin kind of has a bite to it, almost like a plum. If you have a plum, the center of that is really sweet. The skin's a little bit of a kind of a bitter taste. That's how the muscadine grapes are. And that's what this one really, really reminds me of. That real smooth start to it, and then that real kind of bite to the end of it. That's a really good drier wine if you're into more dry wines. Our next one though, this is called Midnight Magnolia. Now your Midnight Magnolia, this is also made with a Magnolia Muscadine grape, but it's one of our estate wines. Now what that means is that we have to grow those grapes. So Duplin Winery, if you get a bottle of our Midnight Magnolia, we have grown those grapes. We do have other farmers that grow for us. The estate wines, we grow the grapes ourselves. After the first year, we're not allowed to water or fertilize them. And also they are fermented at a 52-degree fermentation. Now those last two things I mentioned, the 52-degree fermentation and the fact that we cannot water or fertilize them, what that does is the water and fertilizing, it gives you bigger, juicier grapes. And the reason for that is you don't have as many grapes on those vines. So you don't have as many grapes fighting for the nutrients and the water that is in the soil. So you get bigger, juicier grapes, gives you a smoother finish. The second part of that, the 52-degree fermentation, that also helps with that smooth finish. So if you try the Moonlight Bliss that was also made with a Magnolia, it's got that bite to the end of it. This Midnight Magnolia, it cuts out that bite. So again, you still smell those Magnolia grapes, but you're gonna get a much smoother finish on this wine, so cheers. It's a little bit sweeter also. You're looking at about a 6% sugar content in that. So these, we picked these grapes more of a mid-harvest, and the Moonlight Bliss, those are picked at more of an early harvest. So they're not quite as ripe, so you don't get quite all of that sweetness in there. Our next wine though, you're looking at about 10 to 11% sugar content. So this is one of our sweetest whites that we have. This is called Bryce's Creek. This one reminds me a lot, if you ever had muscadines and you just pop the actual flesh into your mouth. So what I mean by that is, a lot of people, what they'll do, they'll take that grape, they'll squeeze it, and that flesh and the seeds will pop right out into their mouth. So all they're getting is that sweetness, and they spit the seeds out. You don't get that bite that you get from those skins. So that's how this one tastes to me. And this is actually a blend of our Scuppernong grapes. It's got a little bit of a grape in there called the Niagara. Now your Niagara grape, it's not a muscadine grape. You'll find those in up north. Talking like Finger Lakes here in New York, upstate New York. I've heard some people in Pennsylvania, just more of those up northern grapes. It's got a really nice smell to it. You can really smell those Niagaras in that. And you taste them too. You get that muscadine taste at first. Finish on that though, you get that sweet Niagara grape. And that Niagara grape is just a little bit smoother than your muscadines. You don't get that bite that I talk about with the muscadines. So that's all our whites. So if you got cheese straws out, definitely take a couple of those cheese straws. Get those sweeter wines out of your mouth, out from your taste buds, and we're going to start over with our reds. And we're going to start with one of our driest reds. This one's called Burgundy. And this is about a 1.5% sugar content. So it's not going to be very sweet at all. You can drink this one two ways. You can either drink it out of the refrigerator where it's chilled, or you can drink it right off of your shelf, off of your table at room temperature. Myself, I prefer this one at room temperature. It's the only one of ours that I really like at room temperature, except for one we have called American Port. But I think you get more of that grape flavor in this if you do not have this one chilled. You still get that grape muscadine taste, and that smell. That smell is just the aroma of muscadine. If you never smelled it, you're smelling it now. Let's give this a taste. Like I said, it's dry, but it's very fruity. You get that grape taste in there you don't get with some dry wine. So if you're looking for a nice dry wine, but still have that grape taste, this is a great one. If you don't like dry wines though, and you've got this for your tasting now, it's a great one to cook with. I like taking any kind of roast. I'll take a whole bottle of this, throw a roast in a crock pot, let it marinate in that overnight, then turn that crock pot on the next day. It tenderizes that beef, and you got a nice kind of almost like a beef burgundy type of thing there. And that's really good. And I always roast some potatoes and make a gravy out of what's left in there. Now our next wine, this is called Pelican Red. This is another mid-sweet. You're looking at somewhere between a 7 and 8% sugar content on this. And this is actually a blend of our muscadine grapes and a pink Catawba grape. Now, pink Catawba grape, that's another grape that is not a muscadine grape. And it's growing in pretty much that same region I was talking about with those Niagaras. You're looking at upstate New York, Pennsylvania, that area there, just up north pretty much. Some of my favorite wines that we have here at the winery are those blends of that muscadine and those northern grapes that are called Labusca grapes. So these give you a great aroma. That pink Catawba gives you just an awesome aroma mixed with that muscadine. And the taste is even better. So give it a taste, guys. Here we go. It's only a 7 or 8% sugar content, but the sweetness on that, it's another one that really reminds me of taking those grapes right off the vine, popping them in my mouth and getting that juice right in there. But that's our Pelican Red. And the reason it's called Pelican Red, if you guys have ever been to Myrtle Beach, at our winery there in Myrtle Beach, we've got a baseball team there called the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. And we actually did a partnership with them, and they wanted a wine that they could just sell there at the stadium, and this is what we came up with. It's called Pelican Red. You can get it other places now, but originally you could only get it there at the Pelican Stadium. And this brings us to, this is one of our most popular wines. This is called Hatteras Red. And I know I've said that there's a couple of these that really remind me of picking those grapes right off the vine, and they are, but this one here, Hatteras Red, this is the one, hands down, that taking one of those grapes right off the vine, popping it in my mouth with the skin and all, this is hands down the one that reminds me of that most. And this is actually consistently our best-selling wine. If you've ever seen our wine in grocery stores, I guarantee you've seen Hatteras Red. It smells just like muscadines in the summer, walking through the woods, stepping on those that have already fallen onto the ground. You get that juice going in between your toes, and then you get that smell coming up. It just takes me back to being a little kid. It really does, because that's where I grew up, in the woods in North Carolina. Not literally in the woods, but I played in the woods a lot in North Carolina. So let's give this one a taste. Again, that sweetness and that little bit of a bite at the end, that skin taste. One of my favorite wines. And actually, this wine here, when I first moved to North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where I live now, this was the first wine I had when I moved to my new place back in 1999. I was looking for something to drink. I had just moved. I think I went in, it was either Food Line or Walmart, I don't remember where. But anyway, I went into one of those grocery stores and I looked on the wine wall and I saw that Hatteras Lighthouse. I'm like, well, I know Hatteras Lighthouse. What is that all about? And I saw it was a North Carolina wine, took it off the shelf, took it home, fell in love with it. And I don't know, about 15 years later, I started working for the company. It took me a while to get to work for them, but hey, they finally hired me. All right, so our next is our Sangria Red. Sangria Red, this is a favorite of a lot of our guests that come into the winery. And what it is a blend of our muscadines, and it's looking about 10 to 11% sugar content now. And it's that blend of muscadines, but we also got some fruit in there. So we've got some fruit flavoring in there. We got some peach, mango, lemon, lime, strawberry. This one right here, the Sangria Red, when I taste it, I get that muscadine at first, but on the finish of this, I get more strawberry than anything else. Now we've got a white Sangria. That one I get more mango and peach. But this one definitely gives me more of a strawberry. So let's try this out. Yeah. Keep that in your mouth for a second, get those muscadines. You swallow that, finish that, definitely get more of a strawberry taste than you do with the white Sangria. Now, if you got a bottle of white Sangria laying around, take a little bit of that white Sangria, a little bit of this red Sangria, and mix it together. That's your God Bless America. That's how we came up with Sangria Rosé, which is our rosé version of that. So try those two out too if you get a chance. Our next wine, if you're drinking to drink healthy, that's our Scuppernong Blush. Now what I mean by that, this is our highest in antioxidants of any of our wines. So the muscadine grape is very high in antioxidants. It's got antioxidants in the skin, in the seeds, and in the flesh. Scuppernong Blush, out of all of our wines, it is the highest of any of them with antioxidants. So if you're drinking for your health, definitely get a bottle of the Scuppernong Blush. Not only is it good for you, it smells and tastes amazing. This is made with your Scuppernong and a blend of some of our red muscadine wines. So let's go. Here we go. Cheers, guys. Yeah. That one's got a little bit of that muscadine bite that I like to talk about. You definitely have that in the finish of that, but that is a really good wine. If you like anything, any kind of hot spicy foods, I'm thinking more like Mexican foods, that's a really good one to pair with those. Now our next wine, this is actually my favorite wine. Out of all the wines that we've had since I've been here, this is my favorite. This one is called Going Coastal. Now the reason we call it Going Coastal is when we opened up in North Myrtle Beach, we wanted a wine to sell just there that would remind people that, hey, I was at North Myrtle Beach and I came to the winery and I wanted to buy a bottle of wine, so let's go with this one. Going Coastal, came to the coast, that's what you got. Now what this is though, unique thing about this is actually a couple of our muscadine grapes and a couple of those non-muscadine grapes. So you've got a little of that Pink Catawba, a little bit of that Niagara, and then you've got a blend of our red muscadine grapes and our white muscadine grapes. All of those blended together, and it's those northern grapes coming from up north down to the coast. So those grapes came down here and went Going Coastal with our grapes. And I'm telling you, man, this is one of my favorite, not one of them, this is my favorite wine. It's super smooth. Bad thing about it is, sitting on a porch on a Saturday night, sitting there talking to your friends, next thing you know, you wake up and it's Tuesday, because this thing sneaks up on you, I'm telling you. It's so smooth. I'm serious. I talk about that muscadine kick in some of these other ones. To me, this is the smoothest wine we've got. It's called Going Coastal. Definitely check it out. You can get that one at either of our locations. They do sell that one in some grocery stores. Some of these you can get in grocery stores, some of them you can't. The last one that we're talking about here is our Cotton Candy Blueberry. You can definitely get this in some grocery stores because I've seen it around. But we came out with our Cotton Candy a couple years ago, and it was just our regular original cotton candy. People loved it so much because it starts out tasting like muscadines, but the finish on this does have a cotton candy taste to it. So they loved that, and we wanted to try some different flavors. So we did a lime, we did a peach, and we did a blueberry. Out of those three, this blueberry is my favorite. Peach is my second runner-up to that, but this blueberry just knocks it out of the park for me. I love blueberries, I love muscadines, and I love cotton candy. And this wine literally just mixes all three of those things together. As you taste this, you're going to taste that muscadine first. And if you leave it in your mouth for just a couple seconds, you're going to get that cotton candy taste. And the finish on this, as you're swallowing it, you're going to get that blueberry. So do that. Give it just a couple seconds and then swallow it, and you'll have all three of those sensations, all of those tastes in your mouth almost at the same time. So cheers, guys. Definitely blueberry going down. And now I'm getting a little hint of that cotton candy too in the finish. The smell on that, make sure when you do take that sip, you give that a smell too, because you really smell the blueberry in there, and that really enhances those taste buds to get that blueberry taste. Now the last thing that we're going to do today, and you guys will have this, this is our blueberry freeze sweetser. Now you would think, are we going to make that with the blueberry cotton candy wine? Will you be incorrect? This is actually made with our Bryce's Creek, which is the third wine we tried today. One of our sweeter wines. You're looking at about 11% sugar content on that again. These are easy to make too, okay? Now when we have them here at the winery, we've got a big slushy machine that we make these with. You make these at home, it's even easier than that. There's actually two packages in here. You take one of these packages and half a bottle of the wine it calls for. So you take one of these packages in here, half a bottle of the Bryce's Creek, pour that over a blender full of ice, blend that up, and when you pour it out, you're gonna get a nice wine slushy. So what it is, it's an adult slushy. So it's like going to 7-Eleven, but you can get a little bit tipsy afterwards. And the nice thing about these is, since you got the two packages in here, you take one package, make it with the wine, take another package, make it for the kids. All right, so then your kids, they've got one that they can use with one of our non-alcoholic wines. We've got a muscadine non-alcoholic wine, and then we've got a scuppernong non-alcoholic wine. So you can do that. If you don't have that at your house, you can always use just a grape juice to mix with that. But it makes the kids, you know, feel like they're getting to hang out with the adults a little bit. And then when you get tired of the kids being around, just give them some of yours and they'll go right to sleep. Don't do that. I'm just kidding. Do not do that. I don't want you to get in trouble. Guys, I hope you had a good time today doing this wine tasting. Thank your host, but you guys, come down and see us. We got two locations. We've got one in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we've got one here in Rose Hill, North Carolina. Rose Hill is the original, so if you want to see where it all started, come down here. And hopefully within the next 5-6 months, we'll be down there in Panama City Beach. We've already broke ground down there, so come see us there too. Guys, have a great day, and we will see you next time.